Skid Row by Aaron G. Donato. So many of our sons are misplaced on the streets, are on the run, are barred, are beat. So many of my brothers are killed by guns. So many of our mothers have wrongfully lost their sons. So many of my sisters' brothers have killed each other.
The project was about working with artists on Skid Row to make a piece of performance in 4 days. I was nervous, and it was a nervous excitement about the project. I was nervous about the time frames, making something in such an incredibly short period of time. I was nervous about being someone from this end of the world, an older white man working largely with African American, Latino, Latina residents of Skid Row. What would be the kind of cultural collision points and how might that be managed? So we were working with a devised piece that was going to end up in a piece that we shared and into performance. That's enough to keep you nervous. We work with a whole range of arts organisations who are already working in Skid Row. A Los Angeles Poverty Department have been up there for close on 30 years creating theatre. Urban Voices, a stunning choir music making organisation. Piece by Piece, which is a mosaic making organisation. Skid Row Housing Trust, which provides social services and housing for people on Skid Row. And finally, our Friends Place, which is a drop-in shelter, especially working with young homeless people, not actually in Skid Row, but up in the West Hollywood area.
My life was saved through this project. My life was saved through each of these projects, LAPD, Urban Voice Project. Those two organizations saved my life because I'm actually living my dream.
As an academic, I've been really deeply fascinated by is the capacity for play and theatre in those kinds of environment. There's a politics around homelessness, especially in Trump's America, where the poor are blamed for being poor, that it's seen as a problem rather than a symptom of a wider problem, and the wider problem being just disgusting, uncontrollable greed. So to survive in Skid Row, you need food and water, but you need the arts, and that became clearer and clearer and clearer. You need to feed your body, but you need to feed your soul. And the thing that feeds your soul is the arts.
I went to college. I majored in theater and language, and I wasn't doing any of that until I ended up homeless. So it was through homelessness that I found my art. It's all one for me. My drawing to my writing to my music.
Singing has been a very large part of my healing process.
That I love to sing, I love to dance. Losing my sons was very devastating. I joined the Women Against Gun Violence, and I was a mess. I was just tore up. I couldn't sit here today like this. But they told me, Miss Moreland, you can be a voice for those that don't have a voice.
I got down here in 2013, and Skid Row was sort of like, it was there when I needed it. Art has definitely saved me.
And they do that through music, through dance, through the paintings on the wall. Vibrant art made in the rubble of the American empire as it collapses. It's extraordinarily beautiful. Some of the artists I work with, there are a couple of the young ones who are still sleeping rough. One of them got robbed. Another young guy got picked up by the police on something, and another one was, dealing with immigration. We were all driven by a desire to make the best possible piece of theatre we could. So there were two things on the very first day which I think were really important, and as New Zealanders we always ask where we're from, and who we're connected to. In Māori terms, it's whakawhanaungatanga, the building of relationship through the sharing of who we have in common, what we have in common, and the sharing of that in a highly structured way. And in doing that, sometimes sharing the vulnerabilities of who you are as a human being. And I began with a pepeha, which also acknowledged the land, and Skid Row has a history of colonisation and migration and oppression that goes back for hundreds of years. Skid Row just didn't erupt in the last 10, 15 years, but if you track it back, there's a long process of displacement, colonisation and oppression, and kind of acknowledging that at the very beginning, that actually opened a way in to the work, but also the common sense that as human beings we share grief for those who've gone before. The two things I think that hold Skid Row together are the arts and death. Over 1,000 people a year die on Skid Row, and many of the people that we were working with lived with that incredible grief. So those kinds of processes were really important at the very beginning, finding a space to do that. And then it's about getting up and moving. And so one of the things that we did that really built community was we found each other's rhythm. And we did that through the way in which we started to sing together, to move together, to use our bodies as percussive instruments. Finding the rhythm of the group that's come together and immediately being playful with it. But the space we worked in was an enormous art gallery, cultural house of the city. So one of the things that we decided really on was that we would use its real business, which was the way in which it displayed art, to tell the story of Skid Row. So we created in the gallery living installation pieces. So the audience came together, sat like they're going to watch a piece of performance. They watched instead a 10-minute video, and then they were called to the living installations around the museum space. Each installation told everyday stories of everyday life on Skid Row. Which included people being born, dads talking to their sons while they played basketball, to an argument, to in the end the bit that brings everybody together, which is the death. So the Not Giving Up song was an extraordinary gift to the performance from Urban Voices. It's just one line that's sung over and over and over. And what we designed in the piece was this final scene where Lorraine is over the body of someone who was murdered or dead in Skid Row and wails. It brings everybody together like a clarion call, like or the sound on the marae when that call goes out, that karanga to the dead, that just sends a shiver down, and she hit that note every time that makes you want to weep. And we'd got to that part in the devising and we didn't kind of know how to get out of there. And Aaron said, I got this song. And he started to sing it.
I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up, no, not yet. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up, no, not yet. I'm not giving up. I'm not giving up,
back to the power of theatre to confront, to challenge, to do all those kinds of things. Here are people whose humanity is stripped off them on a daily basis. People are trained in LA to pretend they don't exist, to walk past them. One night we actually saw a cyclist ride over a body lying in the middle of the footpath. Literally ride over on his bicycle. And then there's this, no, we're not giving up. We're not giving up. The final singing of that became like a protest march where the audience came in behind the banners. And the wonderful thing that I remember about that was that because it's just one line, everyone sang. One of the beautiful metaphors that Anna uses, one of the cast members, she talks about the arts and theatre as the healing balm.
Music and arts, I feel, is medicine to the soul, to the mind, emotions. Regardless of what it is you're experiencing, there isn't a type of music or a song out there that can't touch that part of you that's broken and hurting inside. I see it kind of as a healing balm, if you will, you know, that gets put on that spot, that hurt, you know.
And balms kind of, inside them there are special ingredients which kind of make you better, and you place them over and they work deep into your body and kind of, they release the poisons, but they also bring goodness in. And that's the arts. And the world is in desperate need of healing balms. How do we heal as individuals? How do we heal as communities? How do we heal as nations? And how the hell do we heal our planet? We've done so much damage to it. The arts.
We're all trying to survive Skid Row's turmoil, where lost souls are abused, used, soiled, secured, and lured into crime, lathered in dirt, filth, grime, hardened legacies of poverty, excessive violence of rancorous brutality, projective casualties of morose morality, fallen angels of bureaucratic niceties of tyranny.